Go.
In family dynamic systems, there is a law of conservation of charge. So when there is an emotional charge in a family system, and there's also been transformation taking place, the emotional charge has to go somewhere to seek a new outlet. So if there's been disruption in a family and the people in the family have worked through some of their stuff, the target of the upset can even become the pet. So I was just on the phone with my daughter, who has been having a running upset with my mother that started when we were in Europe, and my mother told my daughter to not ruin our trip by telling us that my father had to go to the hospital.
Continue.
So there's been this ongoing upset between my mother and my daughter.
Right.
My daughter is going to visit my mother and my father. They want her to come, except they're upset. So they had to come up with something to be upset about how she's coming. So what they became upset about was, what my mother became upset about was that my daughter, she said my daughter didn't tell her when she was coming. Well, my daughter just got the tickets 2 days ago. So no, she didn't tell her when she was coming because she didn't know until 2 days ago. But meanwhile, my mother is saying to me, why didn't she tell me when she's coming? So I get to say to my mother, she's 29 years old. She's been living in Seattle for the last 6 years. She hasn't lived with me in way longer than that. Why are you asking me this? She says, I don't know. What she means is, I have this upset and I don't know what to do with it. And it makes me uncomfortable. So I've got to put it somewhere. So here, take it.
So what do you do with that? Why are they so stuck on that programming from that time?
Because she's 85 and he's 95. And the aging process is a rigidification, not only of the body, but of the mind. And it's a facilitative neuronal pathway that she's been running her entire life, living out the anatomy of the upset, which in this case was an unfulfilled expectation and an undelivered communication. So
Right.
I said to my mother, if you want to know when she's coming, why don't you just ask her? To which my mother replied, why should I have to ask her?
Right. It's funny because we both of us had phone calls before this. My mother was calling me, and
see, that's the universal laws, and that is the universe seeking out to level itself. So tell me.
Yeah, I know. We were talking a bunch of stuff, with a lot of some things with my sister and happening with her younger. Trinity is 12 years old. Her,
right.
All the kids going through, like, it's the same thing that's happening in the political thing. Like, all these things getting exposed.
Completely.
All these
Absolutely.
All these kids are putting Snapchat penis shots and this stuff, like inappropriate things, saying, I want to say sexual things to you. And
are you kidding?
She's 12 years old. Yeah.
Oh my God, really?
These are the kids in there, but I'm saying doesn't it kind of seem like a cycle of both sides? All this is getting exposed, and yet all social media is doing the same thing to younger kids.
Maximum evolution occurs at the borders of chaos and order. And as consciousness grows, it always grows to be higher in consciousness, fewer in number. So what you're going to see are casualties.
Right.
Casualties. The Democrats say they want to empty the prisons. They want to empty the prisons of 50% of who's in prison. Except if you committed a crime that they think is a crime, and then you need to go to prison.
Right, right.
Now, these universal laws, the reason why they're universal is because they are true cross-temporally, which means across time. They're true cross-culturally. They're even true in the animal and plant kingdoms. They're even true anywhere you look on the earth. There is the law of conservation of charge.
That makes perfect sense. Well, that's what I was explaining to her about what you say within the chaos and order.
Yes.
Also, too, the other conversation was, and I think it's more related to what you were. She goes out a lot, and my mom's I think my mom's 63, 64, and she has this group. Some married, some have never been married, but they're all. She's like, oh, this friend's really cool. They're all based upon how everybody's cool. This one's cool until they screw up. You know what I mean? So everybody's cool until like, oh, everybody loved so-and-so, Patricia, I don't know their names. And then she's like, yo, then last night she got really drunk at this bar we went to, and she beat up her husband last night. She's like, so now we can't hang out with her. And then my other bitter friend calls me and gives me the lowdown scoop on her. And these people are in 60s, 70s. And it's just like,
you don't understand.
Never.
Unless you work out your shit, it goes on from generation to generation. The reason why when we do NET, you'll find it goes back even to previous lifetimes, is because of the law of conservation of charge. Karma is, and it doesn't know the difference. It doesn't care. Souls travel in packs. And the souls that are in the pack, their function together is to provide a system and a model within which the participants get the opportunity to work out their spiritual, metaphysical shit. And if you can accept that, then you can be detached from it. And you can just look to see what's the universal principle that's being applied here. What's the lesson that needs to be learned? And then you don't take it personally. You just look at it and go, oh, okay, so it's this, and it's this, and it's this. And what's the lesson I can learn from that? Okay, it's this, and it's this, and it's this. Okay, and if you learn the lesson, and you're willing to accept it and embrace it and find the benefit in it, then you get to move on to the next lesson. But that's all there is it's lesson, 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 lesson.
That is something I've been coming into terms with, like even hearing Paul Chek or other people that I've been listening to, or other high people that are very intellectual or they've done a lot of things in their life. They're like, man, the more I go into this, the more I know that I know nothing, like in the sense of like, I keep learning and I think that I know it. And then the next challenges come, And I honestly, you only know up to that present moment, and then all these new obstacles come in.
The biggest delusion that there is that someday you'll have your shit together and you'll know it all.
Right. That is huge. Yeah. No matter amount of books, no matter anything.
Once you let go of that delusion, then all there is, okay, what's next? Next. Okay, fine.
Yeah. A common theme I've been hearing a lot, especially with that, what's that guy's name? Proctor guy? Let go, let God.
Yes.
Let go, let universe,
Yeah, listen, because That's the design function of the universe. Remember, I said to you in the Kabbalah of business that the only function of a business is to be a living, breathing laboratory to see the universal laws at play. Buckminster Fuller in Great Spaceship Earth says the only function of the planet is to be a living, breathing laboratory to see the laws of the universe at play.
Yeah, you said that often. Yeah. No, I'm seeing that clearly every day. It's a growing, once you think you got to a certain point, all these other new things, all right, you got here. Now here's another skill sets from what's to come.
They're concentric rings of consciousness. Okay, kindergarten. If I could only just learn to color in the lines. Okay, first grade. If I could only just learn to have what color I'm supposed to color a leaf, what color is the tree supposed to be, how to take a nap, blah, blah, blah. Well, then you get to the world of relationships. Oh, if I could only just learn how to find the right partner. Oh, if I could only learn that who I thought was the perfect partner is a pain in the ass. Oh, if I could only learn how to not react when they're a pain in the ass. Oh, if I could only give up on the idea that I'm going to find the perfect partner that won't be a pain in the ass. Oh, so now I don't react to my mother anymore. Now my daughter is reacting to my mother, and I have to explain the lesson to my daughter, and my daughter says, "What kind of bullshit is this?"
Yeah. You can't change the old school ways. You just
right.
Right.
So a master is someone who found out. Remember,
what do you just stop? Sorry to interrupt you, but in the sense of what is it in the old school ways? Because we say that often. That's almost like a cop out to me in a sense of like, oh, well, those are politicians. They always do that. We say that often with our parents. Oh, they're never going to learn their old school. So we just
no. That's okay. Ask the question you want to ask, and I'll answer.
My question is like I kind of say that. Well, we can't teach an old dog new tricks, or my father's always like that, or my mother's always like this. So
I gave you the physics of it a few minutes ago.
I get it, but my question is that we say this like, what am I supposed to do? Let go, let them be. You're not going to change them. So just adapt to the situation, or apply.
No. Remember Goodman's principle. We pick people to treat us the way we unconsciously believe we deserve to be treated, and then we train them to treat us that way. The way you train them to treat you differently is by responding differently. So this time, my mother has the conversation with me, only this time she's not upset with me. She's wanting me to know why she's upset with my daughter. So I've already transcended that dynamic. How I transcended that dynamic is over enough period of time, she baits the hook, puts it in the water, and I don't bite. Then she baits the hook, puts it in the water, and I don't bite. Then she baits the hook, puts it in the water, and I don't bite. Now, she's got to bait the hook and put it in the water, and somebody has to bite, goddammit. So now it's my daughter.
She bit.
Yeah. Because she bit for the same reason, because she got trained by her mother, and her mother has a lot of the same shit. That's how come I picked her in the first place.
Interesting.
Yeah. And when it's time to do the work, the opportunity shows up. That's your destiny. So my daughter says to me, I'm going to therapy now. Great. Because I got to deal with the fact that I don't talk to my mother at all anymore. Got it. You know what she says to me today? This stuff that's going on with grandma is just exactly like the stuff that my mother did. You know what I said?
No kidding.
Right. She just about broke down in tears. And I said, no, listen, I'm not laughing at you. I'm inviting you to lighten up about the situation and recognize it's part of your growth in consciousness. To which she replied, ugh.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, it's life. It's funny how this happens. It's just that generational thing. You know, we talked about this even in the conversation with God, and it made me realize that is where your father's father did that to him, and the grandfather did that. So we're just generational. So you're seeing a lot of things being mentioned about.
And so remember I told you the last time I was out in California when my dad overheard me on the phone with a client, what he wanted to know was, where the hell did you learn all this shit?
Right.
That's what you're here for. You're here to be an agent of change. And it starts in and moves through ever increasing concentric rings of spheres of influence and responsibility. So it's first within yourself, then it's in your immediate, like your couplehood, then it may be in a bigger family system, then it becomes within a business, then it becomes, did I tell you yesterday, you can record this, it's fine or not, doesn't matter. Did I tell you yesterday, I saw a Facebook Live that Jim Chester posted where he was coaching somebody and teaching them the power of in the past and up until now.
Jim Chester?
Yes.
Right. Oh, okay.
That is how wisdom gets spread non-locally. That's what it is to be a teacher. That's what it is to have your ego be uninvolved. It didn't matter to me even if he attributed it to me, it was just that, that tool that I taught him that's already starting to make a difference in his life. Now it's having a life of its own, and he's passing it on to someone else.
Yep. Well, the Millionaire Success Habits where Dean, yesterday it kind of fell in our, before we went to sleep in our kind of pillow talk talking with my girlfriend, and she asked me a certain thing, when we have to keep progressing, just kind of like, our dreams are coming true. Let's keep being our best versions of ourselves. And so I went into the 7 whys. I go, why is it you want to go into I did exactly like the book. And it was very, very interesting how the 7 whys, I asked her, so why is it that you want to be happy in a nice house? What's going to happen when we get the nice house? And why? I kept going. And then it got to a deeper part from the head to the heart. And then by the 5th question, she went into she had all that childhood, trauma, and she went into this, and she never wants to be that way again. It was
that's how thin the veneer really is. So yesterday, I started to work with a new client who is Andy Smith's cousin, who's been his partner in the practice, who they grew up in the same nuclear family.
Right.
So before I could work with him.
Stop, pause a second. Can you define nuclear family?
Nuclear family, mother, father.
Ashley asked me yesterday, what is nuclear family? So
a nuclear family is the birth parents and their offspring. Then there's the extended family, which is the parents of the parents. Then there's the further extended family, which is the parents and the siblings of the parents. Okay?
Okay.
Now, personal laws, values, and belief systems get laid out and become part of the DNA of family systems because your innermost dominant thought becomes your outermost tangible reality. That's the phenomena that we're using in Your Goodest Life to build changes in consciousness into the new, improved, if you will, updated you 3.0. But in order to do that, you've got to know, where did it come from? So as I'm getting ready to work with this guy yesterday, he says to me, before you work with me, there's some important things that I need to let you know. And what he basically tells me is about what the family of origin was like where he and Andrew grew up. And why he felt I needed to know it was that some of what triggered his crisis, the cousin's crisis, was him seeing Andrew changing because of the work that Andrew's been doing with me, and his unconscious wanting help to break free.
Is that a in a sense of a, not to get like esoteric, is that a permission thing? Like we need the awareness. The only way to change is ourselves. Like, I'm gonna diet and lose weight. You have to say that. You can't just like, I'm gonna do it. You have to make a decision. Is that like a declaration for yourself?
Good question.
It's like those old vampire movies, like, I'm not allowed in the house unless you
until one is listen, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness, concerning all acts of initiative and creation. There is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues forth from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would have come his way. I have learned deep respect for one of Goethe's couplets. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. I've had that in a frame on a desk in my office for 38 years. Not a week goes by that I don't look at it and see it as if I'm reading it for the first time, because the significance of it gets truer and truer and truer as I get rid of all the pieces of the marble that weren't the David.
Right.
The way that I know that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to do, is there's no more struggle anymore. There's no more resistance anymore. I said to Sally several months ago, do you notice you don't hear me saying anymore, I don't know what to do? I don't know what to do. And when you be open to being teachable, the teachers come out of the woodwork. The lessons come out of the woodwork. The opportunities come out of the woodwork. That's divine order. That's what this is talking about. That's how, when you have an inspired business model, the growth of the business becomes the affirmation. The function of the business becomes the feedback to let you know what do you need to tweak in the manifestation formula so that you get whatever it is you'd love to be, do, and have. That's what the first module was that we recorded yesterday. Yeah. That's the infinite oneness. That's the unity. That's where you get to the point of the at one-ment when, here, listen to this.
What book is this?
Course in Miracles. This just happens to be today's lesson. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. Gratitude is a lesson hard to learn for those who look upon the world amiss. It is insane to offer thanks because of suffering, but it is equally insane to fail in gratitude to the one who offers you the certain means whereby all pain is healed and suffering replaced with laughter and with happiness. Nor could the even partly sane refuse to take the steps which God directs and follow in the way he sets before them to escape a prison that they thought contained no door to the deliverance they now perceive. Your brother is your enemy because you see in him the rival for your peace, a plunderer who takes his joy from you and leaves you nothing but a black despair so bitter and relentless that there is no hope remaining. Love makes no comparisons, and gratitude can only be sincere if it be joined to love. We offer thanks to God our Father that in us all things and people, places, ideas, and events will find their freedom. Therefore, give thanks but in sincerity, and let your gratitude make room for all who will escape with you. The sick, the weak, the needy, the afraid, and those who mourn a seeming loss or feel apparent pain, who suffer cold or hunger, or who walk in the way of hatred and the path of death.
Beautiful. It's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Very good lesson. We'll keep this conversation here. I think this
Yep.
is a good thing. I think also too what I'm realizing as well is within scripted stuff that we do and stuff, it kind of takes away from the essence of your free flow and my free flow. So and I kind of like got some like kind of brain I like some things popped in my brain like a light bulb, is that this is really like part of the book of our conversations with Goodman. You know, this is these conversations as opposed to trying to script this into something. So I think these are much more free flowing.
I was kind of trying to say that to you yesterday, but it's okay. It's
yeah. No, I saw it in the video, but I'm saying that's a specific, what's it called? Of doing a course.
The reason why when you get to podcast number like 100,
starts flowing.
Yeah,
we'll get to that. I'm just saying, I think this is these are good for like actually conversations, like, you know, Fridays with Goodman kind of thing. So I think this is a good way to go.
Yeah, we might even do that.
Yeah, I know. I think these kind of things over here, since they're so all over the place.
And lo and behold, just for shits and grins, it is Friday with Goodman, isn't it?
Exactly. That's my point. Maybe we launch these with Fridays. So, you know, you get the book Fridays with Goodman at Amazon. And so we'll leave it at this. Also, more inquiry on Talk to Larry Goodman at www.goodmanfactor.com and also www.yourgoodestlife.com. So we'll leave it at that. Have a good day. Good conversation.
Thank you.